Tomodachi Life 3 is real. I repeat, Tomodachi 3 is real. The summoning circle has worked, and it is nothing like I imagined it in my old video about it. At a first glance. This trailer points to a lot of the elements I proposed there, simply being done more elegantly, and I am actually incredibly excited. The trailer begins with this shot of some palm trees meant to make you wonder what the game is. Tomodachi Life has a photorealistic style for a lot of its graphics, and so does Miitopia, which means none of this gives the fact that this is a Mii game away. The real tell was the seagull noises, which are an iconic part of Tomodachi Life's sound design. This fades into this scene with a Mii sleeping on the beach, and they fart, another iconic part of Tomodachi Life, I guess. Like, how absolutely awesome is it that the first thing they show us about this game is one of the characters farting? That is such a specific thing to show us and has a crap ton of comedic value, which means in 7 seconds they convince me to trust the people making this game. They're just gonna be funny. Never thought a fart joke would make me this happy. I am slightly tempted to call this video the fart that made the internet scream, but I'm gonna show some restraint. Another thing we can see from this shot is the art style for the emotes Miis produce. As you know, Miis in the original produced emotes when laughing and speaking, but not much else. It's nice to have some visual feedback for Miis farting. The next shot showcases some Miis having a conversation, while another Mii walks around. I'll put a pin on the buildings for now, since I want to talk about them all in a group. Point is, these next few shots show Miis playing around outdoors, as we get a look at the new makeup options and hairstyles this game is going to use. It seems in particular that the hairs have gotten a big graphical upgrade, as well as just increasing in variation. Almost every Mii featured in this trailer has a new hair that hasn't been seen in prior Mii games. They resemble the wigs from Miitopia, but they were clearly made to look less like a wig and more like a natural part of the Mii's hair, judging by how the sideburns fit into the Mii's template since 2006. Hair also has physics in this trailer. This also wonders questions about the makeup. This Mii smelling the flower seems to have makeup, but there's a chance this is just a new eye option you can pick. I believe this because the trailer has already shown us they changed a lot of the things that used to be different with Miis, such as, well, the new art style they did for the eyes, which now includes this sort of shine to the eyes, and that seems to be the default option for most eyes, except there's a few eyes in this trailer that do not show those shiny bits. I'm not sure what is or isn't makeup, is what I'm trying to say here, but I am positive this is supposed to be makeup. There's this other Mii that has a pretty common default mouth and lipstick at once, which seems to point to makeup as a dead giveaway, but I'm not entirely sure. I would be really confused, however, if they did not bring back makeup, considering it made Miitopia a lot more popular. One thing I am a fan of is that the face seems to emit its own color, so it's not affected by lighting the same way other parts of the Miis are, really making the expressions pop. It makes me wonder, however, if really complex Miis with makeup are gonna end up looking kind of off as a result. For now, I'll say no, since I'm sure Nintendo would fix such a glaring issue. I think the awesome part about all of these shots, however, is that they show us that the 3D models in the game are made in 360, which means that you will probably have full 360 control of the camera, and that is a big change from Tomodachi, but as I suspected, also the natural next step in the IP. I like this shot of the Miis fighting because this is an activity that Miis used to only be able to do inside the apartments. This leads me to believe that Living the Dream is going to use the entire island as the apartments, where Miis don't live in solitude, but rather all together all the time. In fact, there seems to be no apartment building at all, but I have theories about it based on what we see in the trailer. For now, I just want to point out this city in the distance from this shot with the 4 Miis talking together. I think this is going to be relevant later. By the way, when the Miis are fighting, the treasure stays tossed around are exactly the same images used in Tomodachi Life. The diamond was changed to a more fitting image, and there's new treasures in the piñata and the ship in a bottle. Another cool detail I noticed is that these items actually cast an accurate shadow on the ground, which is pretty neat. You can also see their animation is going at a different speed, so even if I can't exactly confirm the return of personality types based on this trailer, though it's still very likely, I can confirm the speed attribute will be, and that bodes very well for the existence of the mechanic. Anyways, let's talk about the money shot. This shot features almost everything this trailer shows us of the island, all at once, including Miis having different interactions such as chatting, sleeping, reading, chasing each other, working out, buying from vending machines, sitting in the shade of a palm tree, throwing garbage in the bin, and even gazing or screaming at the sea. I don't know what this guy's doing, all happening within the same exact scene at the same time. It seems that this game won't have as much of it happen indoors or in pocket dimensions like the last two, which is so exciting. I just fucking can't. So let's look at this town. Everything is here except the lighthouse, which was shown earlier next to the cafe. It seems mostly for decorative purposes, but I think there's more to it than that. Nothing in this trailer seems to point at any functionality for it, however, so we'll see. First, let's talk about all the buildings that I feel are self-explanatory or don't really tell us anything big. Bite Price seems to be the new pawn shop. It has the same tinted glass window as the pawn shop in Life did. Fresh Kingdom has a lot of shopping mall aisles, which is why I imagine you'll buy food for your Miis here, and this mechanic is returning too. I love the design of this building. It's rather comical, but has a lot of personality. Also, Tomatoes on the storefront, which is always nice. But did you see it? If you get close enough, you can spot it. Is that a bottle of smashed tomatoes? MNN likely stands for Me News Network, this building being the station, which also seems to have made a return. The person in the screen is a little uncanny, and from this distance I cannot tell if they are a me that's seen in the trailer or just a random stock picture. Where is the clothing shop? Wouldn't have it any other way with that name and look. Tomoria is the new name for the cafe, which used to be called Red Fruit in the old games and Taco Baido in the first one. It has a menu in the front door, and I imagine this thing above the sign says restaurant, but it's a little hard to read from this distance. There is a me moving inside the cafe, and I don't know what this means. And finally, TNC Renovations, or just TNC Reno, which can be read as, you know, that red box art. Heading out back to Reno! You know the one. It's almost definitely the interior or furniture shop. While it could easily be a furniture shop and this game could feature a fully robust interior customization feature, I think interiors are going to continue to work as they did before, mostly because of the way all of the visuals for this building are made. From its blocky shape that immediately screams interior shop to the little detail on the side that shows a house and another cube with a paintbrush. Perhaps this means you'll also be able to use this shop to change the color and style of the houses seen throughout the trailer. Before I talk about those houses, let's talk about this new building. Quick build. This is probably the way this game's progression will work, as I imagine this building hits at the main difference this game will have from prior games in the franchise. I think islands will be fully customizable. Let's look at the evidence. First, this island plot is too small to fit any more than 30 Miis, more so if each Mii is getting a house now, which means the land has to be extendable. Second, the island has a very square-like design, from its beaches to its decorations. Not only is everything on a somewhat grid pattern, but it's also rather telling to see this part of the island to the side. It seems to be an empty plot, but it also showcases a gap that's exactly the size of other grid pieces. It just lines up too well to not be an island customization feature, letting you, the player, build it from scratch. Every time you want a new Mii, you'll need to buy them a house to place around your island. You can even see the bounce in this shot with the breakdancing Mii, probably showing the area the simulation can take place in and where you can build. It's like you're developing this new town next to this giant city. Could this mean that eventually the houses can be turned into apartments? Probably not, and I'm just hype, but the speculation is there, so if I get it, people can call me a genius in the future. Let's talk about the houses now. Besides being placeable, all the houses seem to have the same general aesthetic. And although maybe further into the game you can customize the exteriors, I am not pointing these similarities out because of that, but rather because there are differences in the houses. Next to them, it seems every house has a small decoration. However, they only really show us 3 of the houses from up close, even though I can tell this red house has something different than those other 3. On that note, we can confirm that this is not specific to the house colors, as these 2 yellow houses have a different decoration. I think this points to one of those ideas I mentioned in my other videos. I think Miis will have hobbies now, and these decorations point to those hobbies. In this case, gardening or fishing or surfing are clearly shown, but from this trailer, I think the bug catching may also happen, as there's multiple instances of plants having a butterfly that hovers around exclusively above their grid location. It seems too intentional to be a coincidence. Suddenly, my own theory isn't too far off the mark, eh? Not that I would mind if I was completely wrong, I'm still happy to have more Tomodachi, but I am glad my own little design may have something in common with the one the professionals at Nintendo are making. I could be going on this random tangent that ends up being some random detail as always. Much of what I'm saying here is speculation, but I have theories that make me giddy and stuff. These things at the side could just be personality based, but in the words of Parappa, I wanna believe! So I will believe these implies some sort of hobby or job system. Like, for example, earlier you see this Mii using a vending machine, and it would be perfectly valid of me to speculate that this is the new way you'll be earning money. Instead of Miis donating during their morning routine, they'd pay you for the different things they use, and that money periodically ends up in your pockets. That would be cool as fuck, but it's not something I can confirm based on what we see in this trailer. It's simply another piece of speculation that I'm just throwing into the ether. Anyways, the trailer ends with a dream that isn't very notable content-wise. Only thing displayed here is the ability for Miis to speak in different pitches, necessary for them to sing. I wanna say this may self-confirm the existence of the concert hall, nowhere to be seen in this trailer, but it's not a surefire thing just yet. They have the functionality to do it, and I imagine they will. Another thing from this trailer is that the voice lines in other versions of the trailer are appropriate to their languages. The Spain version uses the lines in Spanish, the European version uses the lines in British English, and someone with Italian and other languages. I couldn't find the Korean and Chinese versions of the trailer, nor did I find any new languages that weren't also in live. A shame, but I hope other languages are still in the cards. By the way, the Japanese version is simply subtitled Thrilling Life instead of Living the Dream, which is a lot lamer. They even translated the mumbles of this Mii though, that is a nice detail, very funny. There's few things left to talk about, except for the fact that we can now edit the Hollow Knight clown into this part to laugh at all them idiots. Who I am one of, but whatever. This trailer also showcases one song, which has a sound closer to Matsuoka's work on Tomodachi Life than to Shiba's music for Collection. However, I can tell it's trying to capture some of that casual energy and easygoing vibe. It's not really getting any of those rickety and homemade styles from Collection's music, so it seems to be like a hybrid between both. I really wonder how the full soundtrack will be like, but currently I expect it to be mostly filled with synths and drum machines, which retain that musical feel of the older games. I am glad about this because Animal Crossing pivoted its musical direction in the latest game to mixed results, so currently this is one less thing to worry about for me. Still very excited to listen to the rest of that. And that's all we get, 1 minute and 5 seconds. Not bad for a first trailer, and it ends up telling us a lot about how the game is going to work. It basically is like every Mii in the game lives in a huge apartment. It doesn't answer all the questions though. Are apartments still a thing? How does interacting with the Miis work? Perhaps those things I named as hobbies are actually jobs. And what about the things we don't see, like the music hall? How extensive is the makeup? How does the game look at night? How do I know if a Mii has trouble? Are they actually going to walk to their destinations now? Can I play in first person? Are there gays? Hey, I'm just as excited as you are, but for now I think we're just gonna have to wait for more information, which... That's the nature of analyzing first trailers, I presume. You end up speculating a lot, and I tried to make it quick for the sake of you guys. I cannot imagine the amount of trailer analysis like this one that go frame by frame as if that's gonna tell you anything new. All you're gonna do is notice this transition of this breakdancing animation is a little too sudden, and maybe that animation seems to work like they do in live where the rig isn't context sensitive, so really short Miis and tall Miis end up clapping ever so slightly off center. But at that point, you're not getting any new information, you're just looking at flaws, which is why I'm ending this video here. Heck, I don't even know how much of this trailer is slotted to change in the future. They still have like 2 years to develop this game, so anything they show here can definitely be changed for the future of the game in its final release. For now, all we can do is get excited and express our true emotions at the look of this trailer. Fucking hell yeah, we're so fucking back! Never kill yourself! Never! Woo! Oh yeah, and the Miis have ears now. That's a pretty huge detail to not point out.